Hello everybody, welcome to the FYG podcast with myself, HokutoPain, Mr. RetroResurrection, and Mr. GamingMule. How's it going, everybody? How are you all doing, gentlemen? Are you okay?
Hello.
Yeah,
doing okay.
Amazing, thanks. How are you?
Doing very well. I'm excited this week because a lot of new games have dropped. Of course, you two have been playing probably the most anticipated game of 2022, or at least up until the end of February, early March. That is Elden Ring. How are you getting on with it, guys? Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, I'm absolutely loving it. In fact, I'm playing it right now as we're recording. So yeah, it's all right. Yeah, it's pretty good.
So you've had a few hours to sit down with it. I know we're getting right into it here, gentlemen. We're not really warming people up, but just to get an idea as to whether or not you're enjoying it. You're a few hours in at least. Is it better or worse than Dark Souls 3? That's what I want to know. That's all I care about.
Better, I would say.
Ooh.
I'd say just across the board, it's better than any of the Souls games.
Do you include Sekiro in that? And Demon Souls?
No. Souls, when I say Souls, it's
you mean 1, 2,
Demon
3,
Souls
Bloodborne.
and Dark Souls.
Yeah.
No, not Bloodborne. I don't include. You know, people like to lump those together. I think Bloodborne.
The 4 Souls games.
It stands apart from the Souls games. I would still say out of any of the From Software games, this is fighting its way towards the top. Sekiro was my top. Elden Ring is steadily closing in.
How about you, Mule? What are your thoughts? You've played all of them now.
I mean, it's definitely up there. It's I'm really enjoying it. Is it better than Dark Souls 3? I don't know.
It is, Mule. No, the answer is it is.
I love Dark Souls 3. It's close. I would say I probably do still prefer Dark Souls 3, to be honest with you, just because
do you think the open world cripples it a little because there's too much of a openness to it instead of like the formulated like funneled boss fights that you normally get in like in Souls 3, like you funneled into the monastery and you fight Yhorm, for example, but it's like a very obvious path that you kind of funnel towards. So
I think I do
simpler.
Prefer that. But the open world in this is really good. Like I am thoroughly enjoying just going around, and I love the mystery of it. Like you don't know what you're gonna find. Like it really rewards exploration, unlike a lot of other open world games where it's essentially just full of nothing. Like this is full of lots of awesome stuff, and it could be
comparable to something like Breath of the Wild. Do you think?
Well, I mean, I've only played a little bit of Breath of the Wild, but personally, I would say it's much better than Breath of the Wild. But I don't know how Retro would feel about that. Like, he's the more experienced.
I haven't played Breath of the Wild, but I would say it's better than Breath.
No, I have played Breath of the Wild. I just haven't played loads of it like you have.
I suppose what I was trying to say is that Breath of the Wild is also supposed to reward exploration, right? It's a big, huge open map, and you go to the nooks and crannies, and you'll find things. Some people complain that there's not enough things in Breath of the Wild, and there's some people counter argument and say there's too much in Breath of the Wild. So it's more along the lines of could it be comparable to something like Breath of the Wild?
Yeah, you could make that comparison quite easily. I mean, there's been plenty of times I've been just roaming around on Torrent, the steed that you get in Elden Ring, and just I fall into those same patterns that I remember doing in Breath of the Wild, or pretty much any open world game where I'm just like, ooh, what's over on that rise? What's down that cave? What happens if I go down here? It's just what you need to expect is, Breath of the Wild was more, we're going to reward you positively.
All right.
for pretty much any nook and cranny that you go and explore. Elden Ring will sometimes punish you for being
a little bit too curious. Yeah. That's fair enough. Well, I'm glad that you're both enjoying it, and I'm sure the rest of the world that are playing it right now, and any listeners that are listening right now and are playing it, are also enjoying it as well. I mean, March is a huge, jam-packed month for video games. I think we spoke very briefly about that last week. We'll probably go into a little bit more detail this week, with regards to some of the releases that are coming out. But of the releases that are coming out in March, of which I'm sure there are a couple, that you guys are probably interested in. Are there any particular highlights? For example, for me, both games that have been pre-ordered in March that I'm very, very excited to play are obviously Triangle Strategy, which I started playing today. And coming March 18th is obviously Final Fantasy Origins Stranger of Paradise, or Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origins, whichever way that's said, which I'm also looking forward to. But we've got games like Grand Theft Auto 7.
Gran Turismo 7.
Gran Turismo, sorry, that's Grand Theft Auto. Gran Turismo 7, sorry. We've also got Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. We've only just had Horizon Forbidden West and Elden Ring. So it's
Ghostwire Tokyo.
Ghostwire Tokyo, end of March. Yeah, there's another one. There's a whole
GP.
heap. Yeah, Chocobo GP.
Chocobo GP,
Yeah.
Yeah, that comes out in
out of those, I'm guessing then the other ones we've listed they are most likely your highlights as well. Then, would you say?
Pretty much. Certainly, Stranger of Paradise. I'm thoroughly looking forward to. Ghostwire Tokyo, which I forgot about. I completely forgot that was even coming out. So, and I was surprised to find out that it was coming out this month. So I'm chuffed about that.
Yeah, I was a little shocked that it was coming out this month.
Yeah,
when it mentioned, I don't know. I just felt like it was I thought it was further along, the pipeline of delivery that Square Enix was hoping to achieve. I definitely thought it was this year, but I didn't think it was going to be first quarter, which is it's pretty cool. It's certainly a nice surprise. But after playing the demo and it feeling relatively unfinished and a little bit like a PlayStation 3 game.
You played the demo for it? I didn't even know there was a demo out for it.
Well, you played the demo, didn't you? For Final Fantasy Origins, Stranger of Paradise?
Oh, so I thought you said Ghostwire Tokyo, sorry.
No. I'm talking about Final Fantasy Origins. So Stranger of Paradise, yeah. Felt like a PlayStation 3 game. It definitely felt unfinished, graphically, as more than anything. Comparing it to something like Demon's Souls, let's say, which completely shits on it graphically. I thought it was going to be along down the lines because I thought they were going to do a lot more to make some improvements there. But to be honest, looking at the trailers, the most recent trailer, the My Way one, it doesn't look like that's changed, if I'm honest.
I forgot about that trailer.
I did it my way.
That was certainly an interesting choice of
for Jack.
Of track for the trailer. Yeah.
Not one word of chaos though in that trailer. They made sure of that.
They're trying to steer away from that meme now, I think.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, any other highlights, gentlemen, that you guys can think of? I know you both are excited for Chocobo GP. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about why you're excited for that? Because as far as I could see when I watched the trailers, there was all the characters were like monsters from the games, not characters. I couldn't play Sid, for example.
No, there's actual characters. You got Steiner, you got Vivi. The Cloud and Squall are going to be in it as well, as far as I'm aware.
You don't recognize the characters because there's several of them from another spin-off series, Chocobo's Dungeon.
Right. Yeah, Mystery Dungeon, like the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Well, there's an eclectic mix of video games out this month. I'm sure they're going to be chock-a-block. Personally, I need to finish Triangle Strategy before Stranger of Paradise comes out, and I had to fight every possible urge I had in my body not to buy Shadow Warrior 3, even though it's got fairly generic scores across the board, because I've been looking forward to that game for a very long time. And it wasn't until 2 days before it dropped that I realised it was coming out, and it was coming out on the same day as Triangle Strategy, and I had already pre-ordered that and wanted to play that. So
already made the commitment.
Sorry, Flying Wild Hog, if you ever get to listen to this podcast, which is definitely never going to happen. But I can't play a video game right now. I'm going to have to wait for it to come out on sale. Or when there's going to be a lull.
You're going to get an email from tomorrow now.
This stream is sponsored by Flying Wild Hog Studios.
But speaking of Triangle Strategy, you dabbled a little bit this morning, didn't you, Hawk?
I did indeed. I dabbled in the triangle.
How did it fare? What can you tell us about it?
I can tell you that the composer, it's the first game that he's ever done. I can't remember the guy's name. It sounds like Shinju. I think Shinju's in there, or Shinju, something like that. It's the first video game he's ever done, and it blew me away as soon as the music hits in the title screen. It kind of blows you away. It's fully fledged, orchestrated, huge sound, very epic, very heroic. but it's the same composer who did Full Metal Alchemist. He's obviously done TV and things like that. But it's the first foray into video games. But yeah, the music is the first thing that hits you. Graphics, obviously, if you've played Octopath Traveler or Bravely Default 2, you know what you're getting. That kind of HD 2D kind of thing. But well, exactly what we spoke to last week. But yeah, the difficulty, I played it on normal and it didn't fuck about. I nearly wiped on the first battle, which teaches you how to play the game. So yeah, it was very good. Voice acting wise, I'm playing it in Japanese, so naturally I couldn't tell you what it's going to be like in English, but I can't imagine it's going to be terrible, but I can't also imagine it's going to be better than the Japanese. You know, because they're going to give them generic British accents or American accents, you know, very boring, bland, generic. Mm-hmm. Especially when, much like in Octopath, where some of the characters have like yay old speech, they've continued that here.
I hated that.
Yeah.
That annoyed the hell out of me in that game.
Yea, alt height, Mister of thine house, Ravus, you know, all that shit. Yeah.
Oh, you're giving me like Final Fantasy 14 flashbacks.
Yeah. I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, but if you're undecided or if you're on the fence as to whether you're going to get it, if you like Final Fantasy Tactics, Tactics A2, Ogre Battle, Front Mission, Fire Emblem, like Fire Emblem Three Houses, for example, you will enjoy this game irregardless of the story, because the battles will often take 20-30 minutes before you actually win. It's not like your stereotypical turn-based RPG where victories can be done in like 1 or 2 minutes. So the battles are far and few between, and you kind of move from mission to mission, and there's side missions to do off on the side. There's no kind of like world traversal. It's kind of you go to points around the map, and then that sets off the next segment of the story or a side quest or whatever. Side quests, obviously, are how you find additional characters. There are additional party members here, so hidden ones. So you got to find them. There's also a morality scale, like decisions that you make. Think Mass Effect, things like that. If you answer like a cocky bastard, some people are probably going to be less likely to want to be in your party than others, and that's so. It kind of, in a way, depending on how you play it, it might give you replayability, force you to throw it again a different way if you want to play with different characters. But yeah, so far feedback's good. 2 or 3 hours in, that's all I can really give you at this point.
Awesome.
Yeah. So if you're thinking about it, getting it, I'd say get it. But if you're not fully invested in tactical RPGs, wait for it to come out on sale. It's on Nintendo, so you'll be waiting 3 years maybe. But
if you're lucky.
And after having played Octopath Traveler on PC recently, my only hopes is that it eventually makes its way there as well, so we can really pump everything up and make it really fast and snappy and, a better definition, unlike the Switch. So yeah, that's basically it. So, we wanted to talk very briefly about Mr. DiMaggio. Do you guys hear about the news about this Futurama special that Hulu have had made or are going to make? I believe Retro, you are familiar with the subject.
Yeah, I am. Hulu at Futurama has just been in and out since when did that show start? 1999.
Yeah,
but canceled unceremoniously a couple of times. It cobbled together a few seasons, and then now all of a sudden news broke about a month and a half ago that Hulu was ordering a batch of 20 episodes that will continue the show.
Mm-hmm.
And no real information on what that would entail as far as story goes, because if anybody's not familiar with Futurama, the show ends on it's open-ended. There's the very end of the last episode leaves it just kind of open interpretation that there could be more stories. And
right, see, I never watched the end of Futurama, so I didn't even know if it had like a proper ending or not. So
it does. It's like, emotionally, they put a cap on it.
Right.
At the very end of the last episode, it's like, oh, isn't that sweet? Okay, well, we can just move on to the next.
Fry and Leela eventually hit it up, and they become lovers.
Oh yeah, they are a couple for like the last
the sexual tension is released.
Oh yeah, they definitely finally capitalized on that.
What about the sexual tension between Bender and Nibbler?
Unfortunately,
you don't get the irony in those names either. Anywho, getting onto the subject. So I think you were saying that it's John DiMaggio, the guy who voiced Bender, and he's obviously done the voices of a foray of characters across video games, movies, TV shows, all kinds of stuff for the last 20, 25 years. He was the last one holding out, right? I said it's something about contract negotiations, money that they wanted. He didn't think it was enough.
Yeah, when they were in contract negotiations with every member of the original cast.
I suppose we should mention that, right? All the original cast are returning for this special.
Yeah, at this point, all of the original cast are now returning. But up until just a few days ago, it was John DiMaggio was the only holdout, and he claims that he thought that the offer from Hulu was unfair, not just to him, but to the rest of the cast. And so he was making it a crusade to.
Did they throw out like numbers or anything like that in that report?
No, not that I've seen. But
I wonder how much money he was expecting to get paid to reprise this role. Because in a way, it's a job, so you're going to want to get paid for it. But I'm sure there's been it was trending on Twitter, wasn't it? This Bendergate thing, which is all of his fans want him to do it. So would it not be in his best interest to just say, well, okay, it's not the amount of money that I was expecting, but I'll do it. I'll do it for the fans. It's going to be the last foray, the last outing.
His platform, like the reason he says that he held out is because he thinks that Hollywood has become too corporate, and that production studios take advantage of actors and performers too much, and they don't offer them adequate compensation. And he was saying Futurama is a really big property. It's got name recognition, so we deserve
14
more.
Emmy Awards.
Yeah, it has been highly acclaimed. It's won many awards.
I wonder how many by comparison it is to The Simpsons, knowing The Simpsons has gone for at least twice the amount of time that Futurama has. Thrice maybe at this point.
What are they on, like season 30 now?
I don't know. I mean, when was the first episode of The Simpsons? First episode of Simpsons. First episode of The Simpsons aired in '89.
Yeah,
I was 2 years old.
That's not counting when The Simpsons were a side bit on the what is it, the Tris McNeil show?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the first episode I remember The Simpsons, we're getting a little bit off topic, Futurama here, but Matt Groening was the one where Bart is swinging around with his dad's ties, like Tarzan. There's an episode where he goes into Homer's closet. This is when it was like old style Homer. When it's like they don't look like they do now.
Where he's like a cone head almost.
Yeah, he's got a cone head
with like really weird proportions.
Yeah, they looked so weird back then, didn't they?
Yeah, and the animation was so really bizarre as well. It's like, anyway, and he goes into his dad's closet because they're playing at home. His dad's at work, and he gets all of his ties out, and he's like play like imagination. He thinks he's Tarzan, so he's got like a little Tarzan outfit that he's made from ties, and he's tied loads of ties all over the roof and things. And he's like swinging from them. And then his dad comes home and strangles him. Remember, kids, don't anger your father, else you will be strangled. PSA, public service announcement.
It wasn't child abuse in the 80s. That was parenting.
I still have it, my Simpsons talcum powder from when I was like 5.
Okay. That's very random.
Yeah,
nice bit of Hawk trivia.
It's like from like early 90s, 93, 94, talcum powder product that I really liked when I was a kid. So I told my mum never to use it, and she still owns it in her house right now. And it's the old looking Simpsons, not new looking Simpsons.
That's really strange.
I know. It's just one of those things that you're just never thrown out. And it's just always been there. Obviously, I wouldn't use it as talcum powder right now. It would probably burn through my skin. But talcum powder is lovely. I use talcum powder for my daughter now. I always, when I get it in my hands, just makes your hands feel great. Getting onto the subject of John DiMaggio, though, obviously him now. Agreeing to this as of a couple of days, you said, Retro. He's agreeing to do this now. It's actually happening.
Yeah, apparently there was some renegotiations behind the scene, and he was satisfied with the offer. So yes, and now everybody is back. Bender is Bender's not going to be recast.
We're all a go. Do we know when this thing's going to be made? Did they kind of
20? They said 2023, so it's not for a while.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it would. I'm sure even 20 episodes of something like that would take quite a while to make, right?
Yeah.
I'm guessing this is going to. I can very much doubt like this is going to grow beyond its original popularity and then want to go any further than this last 20 episodes.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if it really gains any traction. It's a last hurrah, is what I assume it to be.
Yeah.
Even though the show ended well enough.
So we're talking John DiMaggio. We were saying earlier before we started the podcast that he's done so many roles, right? He's done across video games and such that there's so many that you don't even realize that he's been in. Like, we were talking earlier about him being Waka in Final Fantasy X, and us all being a little shocked that he also did Kamari in Final Fantasy X as well.
Yeah.
Personally, I was shocked that he did Jake the dog from Adventure Time. I didn't see that one coming. That one's kind of like come of left field and hit me in the jaw a little bit. Considering I've seen all of Adventure Time and I really enjoy that TV show, and it just didn't click that it was the same voice. Yeah. And then recently I've played Gears of War 1 and 4, and obviously Marcus Phoenix. He does Marcus Phoenix as well, and I didn't even clock that. It doesn't sound anything like him.
I do believe that he plays Heidegger in Final Fantasy VII Remake as well.
Yeah, we said that, earlier on. We saw that. The English version of Heidegger, yeah.
Yeah, surprisingly, he's been in a lot of Final Fantasies.
So I don't know what he sounds like in English because I'm not scrub.
Because I don't know, Mule, did you ever play 12, Final Fantasy 12?
I played a bit of 12. I never finished 12.
Yeah. Did you play Zodiac Age or base normal 12?
Base, when it came out on PS2, yeah.
I played it and I got all the way to the end of 12 and I was like, fuck this game. And I quit it. I got the guide and everything, got it day one, went to the shop, picked it up, got the guide, played it with the guide, because back then I used to like playing them with the guide to make sure I could 100% the games. Because ever since 10.2 tried to fuck you over with the best endings, I never trusted them then. I never trusted them because I thought, right, that's it now. All these games are going to have multiple endings. I don't want to play through this thing twice because it's a piece of shit. So I got the guide. I started playing it. I was like, I'm going to 100% this bitch. And then I got maybe about 70%, 75% through it, like the guide anyway. And I was like, right, yeah, this isn't going to happen. This is a grind fest. This is shit.
I wasn't a huge fan of it. I mean, it was okay, but not enough so that I would finish it. Prior to that, I would always finish.
Didn't like any of the characters, man. I didn't like any of the characters. I didn't mind. I didn't mind Bolthier, but that was about it. The rest of them I kind of couldn't stand.
Yeah.
Especially the main protagonist, who's obviously he's the story that we're mainly following. Varn. I think it was fucking wank. And obviously, you get it's kind of it's 12 and Vagrant Hearts are in the kind of same universe, right? Is it Vagrant Story? Sorry,
Vagrant Story. Yeah.
In Damascus. Yeah.
Evilus. Yeah.
The world of Evilus. Yeah. Damascus, the city, isn't it? Yeah.
And I've never actually understood the connection between, because the Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced games are also set in technically Evilus, but it's it's a storybook version of it.
I remember there's the characters available in it, like Balthier is in Tactics.
Yeah,
I do remember that, which is funny actually, because Final Fantasy, the first Final Fantasy, War of the Lions, anyway. You can get Cloud in that game, but there's no relevance to that. He's just in the game.
Yeah, and it's quite an involved quest line in order to get him, if I'm not mistaken.
It is indeed, yeah. It is indeed, and even his music's in it as well. Final Fantasy VII music's in that game. It's nothing to do with the story. But I'll tell you what, if there's ever going to be a remaster or a remake of something like that, Tactics is going to be the way to go. War of the Lions HD. We'll do the whole typo HD thing all over again.
Or what about like a Tactics remake, in the style of like an XCOM? Was that too detailed? Too much?
Yeah, I just want the base game, but faster. Because it's slow as balls. In the PSP version, with the improved battle speed, is still slow as balls.
I played a bit of the original PlayStation one on stream.
It's like a slug.
It's like wading through waist-high mud the entire time.
It is. So, John DiMaggio, what's your favourite John DiMaggio voice? You have to choose one. Would it be or would it be Bender?
No. I mean, a lot of people would probably gravitate towards Bender because I think it's his most recognizable role, but I actually really liked him. Like you, Hawk, I've actually seen all of Adventure Time. I do like Jake. That's probably my favorite animated
Jake,
role.
Yeah, Jake the dog is kind of like a character for the adults. I mean, Adventure Time is a cartoon that young kids could watch, but most of it probably goes straight over their heads. So a lot of adults enjoy it for that reason.
Yeah, there's a lot of adult humor.
There's also a lot of reference to old video games and things like that. You know, like retro video games, like when we were kids and such.
But I'd say my favorite. That's like my favorite TV show or non-video game role. And my favorite video game role of his is definitely Mad World with him playing Chris Creeley, one of the color commentators in that game. He and Greg Proops just have just such a fun time in that game.
Yeah, I've never heard of that game. Have you ever heard of Mad World, Mule?
No, I'm not familiar with that at all.
No, nor am I. What system was that on?
It was on the Wii, surprisingly, and it was What's
the premise for that game? Don't mind me asking.
The premise is it's kind of like Thunderdome. It's this big competition, just people pitted against each other. It's like Running Man, basically.
Ooh.
A competition where people are just out to kill each other.
Yeah.
And you climb the leaderboards as you kill targets and gain more popularity. And so you're playing. I don't know if his character has a last name. You play Jack, and who has a chainsaw on his arm.
Like Ash.
Yeah. Well, no, he's not missing the hand. He can just he can pull the chainsaw out as like a power move or like a finisher. Okay. But you pretty much can grab anything and everything as a weapon. You can even grab like other enemies and use.
So what's the gameplay style then? Is it like we're talking Streets of Rage, side scroll beat 'em up, or
3D hack and slash? Just beat 'em up. Yeah, okay. And it's incredibly violent, very gory. Think like a Frank Miller graphic novel in video game form.
I remember. I don't really associate gory with Nintendo Wii, right? Because Nintendo is such a wholesome system that, as a kid anyway, you very rarely saw any kind of blood or anything in those kinds of games. They kind of protected kids from that.
Yeah, it
was now,
one of those.
Most of the games aren't that. I mean, there are a couple of ports that you can get on the Switch or whatever that are a little gruesome or whatnot. But most of definitely all the first party games are all very kid friendly.
Well, it was one of those first instances where you could see that because Mad World was by Platinum Games.
Oh, okay.
So that can explain why it's so gory.
Yeah.
But
great studio.
Very great, awesome studio. But this was one of the first collaborations between Nintendo and Platinum Games, and so you can see that Nintendo was starting to loosen up a little bit in their third party games.
Personal favorite of mine, Vanquish. I really love playing Vanquish. Platinum Games, Vanquish, where you play as a cyborg.
Mm-hmm.
And you get
I remember playing a demo.
Fancy sliding around on your knees and shit. It's awesome. Bullet time.
Was it his knees? It was to me like I played the demo. And I don't know if they changed it.
He slides on his ass. Yeah, it's like
okay. I was gonna say it looked like he was sliding around his butt.
He's got like jets in his the back of his legs, so it's like it's a very weird position to be sliding around in. Think like ice skating, but kind of sat down.
But you had me confused when you brought up Vanquish. I was like, John DiMaggio was in Vanquish? I don't remember that. We're talking Platinum games.
Yeah, Platinum Games. Like, it's the first game I think of when I think Platinum because it was just a game I had so much fun with. It's one that not many people talked about at the time either. But I always see it around. Like if I ever go like retro video game hunting, I always see it. I already own a copy of it. I own the copy. It's like a 3D holographic sleeve, and it's awesome. But they've made nothing but great games. Platinum. I really enjoy their stuff. Whenever a new Platinum game comes out, like a Platinum Games game comes out, it's normally enough, like when I see Platinum's name on it, for me to show interest. Same as when anything published by Team 17, it normally interests me.
What other games has Platinum Games done?
I'm pulling it up right now.
We'll let Retro pull that list up. And while we're talking about Platinum Games, I was saying games come like gory games on the Nintendo Switch. Obviously, we had the news this week that, the news that's news to me anyway was the remake for House of the Dead, which is going to be fucking sick.
Yeah,
I can't wait for that.
I'll definitely be getting that.
That
is going to be good.
Need to come
I'd be
back.
interested to. Maybe we already know how are they going to handle the the laser gun or the lack of laser gun thing. Is it going to be like a Wii remote sort of gig? Maybe you get like a peripheral that you plug it into and you can use it as a gun, or
I'd say guess not a clue.
Yeah, well, my guess is probably just going to be either that you play with the Joy-Cons or
maybe there's going to be like a plastic attachment to a gun, like the Wii and all that stuff.
Yeah, but the Pro controller also has
it's got a gyro
limited motion
and all that stuff.
Yeah, because Hawk, you just recently got this on Switch, the Skyward Sword HD.
Yeah,
I played with the Pro controller almost the entire time.
Yeah, it even says that you can flick it and stuff. I remember watching the trailer.
Yeah, any of the items that Link uses in that require like precision aiming, all you do is just tilt around the Pro controller. So that's probably the way they're going to go. But like you said, they're probably going to be some plastic.
That really reminds me of like. Do you remember Face Raiders on the 3DS, which is a game that came pre-installed on the 3DS? And it used the camera. So you take a photo of your own face, and then it would apply it onto these things that float around with little helicopter things on top of it, little propellers. And then it would use augmented reality, and these things would pop up, and you'd have to like move your 3DS around and shoot them, and they make like silly faces and all that stuff. Yeah, like I'm talking like like moving the thing around to aim and then shoot. That's what it reminds me of. It's nothing like Link's Crossbow trailer then. The best Zelda game I've heard
by far. Yeah,
definitely the best one on the Wii, right? What is the best Zelda on the Wii? I mean, what way got? We got Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword.
Yeah, you only had those two, and then crossbow training. Yeah,
which one would you prefer? If you had to Skyward Sword, really? Okay.
Oh yeah. I mean, if my only choice were those three, Skyward Sword. Oh yeah, by 100%.
Far. Nice.
Yeah.
So they made the right decision when they announced they were going to make Skyward Sword. Then, when you saw like the trailers and it was like teasing the Legend of Zelda, and you got excited, and it was like dun, 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 and you heard the music, and then it was dun, 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 Skyward Sword, and you were like. Okay. Well, I didn't really.
I'm a little confused. When are we talking? Are we talking like back in 2011 when it came out, or with the HD remake?
The HD remake, right? Because it was around the time that they were doing the whole 30 year, whatever it was.
When we were expecting like a Legend of Zelda like a collection, All Stars or something, and we ended up with Skyward Sword HD instead.
Yeah, and I'm still bitter about that. But Mule, you asked. Sorry.
I was just saying, because whenever you hear Zelda now, everyone automatically assumes it's Breath of the Wild 2, right?
Yeah.
Any kind of announcement for Zelda, like music, because they always do a music cue first. They do something, and then it'll be something like Link, and then or something like echoey or something like that.
Can you do that again?
Link, and then it'll be like Link, can you hear me, me? And then then you'll get the music, and it kind of like. And then obviously it kind of slowly reveals itself. So everybody automatically assumes that's Breath of the Wild 2, which we still haven't had another trailer for as of the recording of this video, which is a bit ridiculous considering it's coming out this year. Come on, Nintendo, for fuck's sake. Just show us a goddamn fucking trailer. Get these fanboys off me back.
November, December. That's when I'm expecting it.
Yeah.
We'll probably see something at E3.
Possibly.
We have to.
Well, they'll have their own. They'll E3's all go. Is all a go this year, isn't it? It's not like they're doing Sony doing their own thing and all that shit. Yeah, I believe it is. Yeah.
No, okay.
They're all a go this year. They were at the Video Game Awards this year as well. Go and watch it if you wanted to. If you're lame enough to want to spend hundreds of dollars to go sit in an audience while a bunch of celebrities talk about games they don't really know about. But there you go. That's my opinion on it. Anywho, we were going back to Platinum Games. Platinum Games.
Platinum Games.
What are a few games by Platinum Games?
Well, they've made quite a few that you probably would know of. It's funny that we brought up Mad World as well, because that was one of their first games as an independent studio. Because I believe Platinum Games, if I'm not mistaken, were a bunch of former Sega developers.
Possibly. I mean, Vanquish was published by Sega, so that would make sense.
Yeah, Platinum has gone around to a lot of different publishers, but their early partnerships were with Sega. But Mad World, Infinite Space on DS, I don't remember that one.
That doesn't ring any bells.
But Bayonetta is Platinum Games.
Right.
Yeah, Bayonetta 3 coming soon.
Yeah, the whole Bayonetta series, Bayonetta 3 coming to Switch at some point this year.
Bayonetta is basically, for anybody who doesn't know, Bayonetta is basically Devil May Cry. That's what it is.
It's sexy Devil May Cry, yeah.
That's it.
It's Devil May Cry for the ladies.
Devil May Cry is pretty sexy anyway.
Well,
For me,
I guess
I crush over all 3 of the new guys. Easy.
Oh, okay.
Are you more me dribbling at the screen?
When Devil May Cry 3 came out and you got to see Dante with just the jacket on and six-pack abs.
Ooh, yeah. Really got me going.
Hawk's getting all hot and bothered over there.
Yeah. I actually prefer Daddy Dante. I prefer he's older, so I prefer him in 4 and 5.
Really, you do? Because I do as well.
Daddy Dante.
Daddy Dante.
It's got a bit of a gruff going on. He's older, he's wiser.
Yeah. Are you saying like he's kind of a daddy father figure to Nero? Because I always looked at him as like kind of a crazy uncle.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you played Devil May Cry 5 without revealing spoilers, you might be a little bit close there. But yeah.
I completely forgot.
You've completely forgotten that is in fact what it is.
I totally forgot. I totally forgot the story to Devil May Cry 5.
Let's be honest, Devil May Cry 5 has been out for 2 or 3 years at this point. If you haven't played it, it's your fucking fault. But
if we just spoiled it for you, I'm not sorry.
Yeah, I would be sorry. Just go and play Devil May Cry 5 and start bitching about it. Right, anyway. Other games by Platinum. What we might know.
Mule, Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. I know probably one of your favorite Metal Gear games.
Yes. do you know what?
Yeah, that one I haven't played, yes.
No, I have played it, but I played it back when it came out, back in the day on PS3, but I got stuck on it and kind of never picked it back up again.
You couldn't beat the boss with a dog, right? You couldn't beat the dog. Was it you that couldn't beat the dog?
it was a really early boss.
Yeah, it's like the second boss.
I was obviously trying to some kind of mechanic I couldn't pick up.
Trying to hide, I was just
like so I just sort of gave up on it, but it's something that I do want to return to, and it was good. Like I did enjoy the combat. I
smashed that the week it came out. Absolutely hammered it. Absolutely. I thought that I didn't think a game could do cutting mechanics any better than that game did. Nothing better than smashing the Fury swipe. Like we just loads of slashes.
Yeah.
Everything just falls to pieces. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. The Wolverine game did a pretty good job of it.
Never played it.
It wasn't quite as good as the cutting in Revengeance, but yeah, you could just like obliterate it.
Here's a question: which title did it end on? Was it Revengeance or Rising? I always get confused in which one they can. Which is it actually called?
It's called Metal Gear Rising,
but it was
originally it was called Revengeance. Right. Yeah,
with Raiden and his heels, and or Jack, as I like to call him in it as well.
But Hawk, I think you were playing this, if I'm not mistaken. You were playing this on stream not too long ago. Transformers Devastation.
Yeah,
that's a Platinum game.
Transformers Devastation,
published by Activision, but still theirs.
But yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Sometimes you got to deal with the devil, man. Sometimes you got to deal with the devil.
Surprisingly, I did not know this for some reason, but it's also I've never played this game. Star Fox Zero was Platinum Games.
Last Star Fox game I played was in fact called Star Wing, so that's my input on that.
But yeah, so the Star Fox that everybody hated and I didn't play was Platinum. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, they don't all have they're
not all bangers. They're not all bangers.
No. Nier Automata.
You say Nier? I've never heard anybody call it Nier.
Yeah, I always pronounce it Nier.
Oh, interesting. I mean, I don't see any reason why you can't. I've always called it.
I also always hear it pronounced automata.
Automata.
Like, it's automata.
Yeah, I say near automata. If he said automata, that would be weird. It's like the wrong enunciation.
Yeah,
I say near. Well, I mean, so like it's an NEAR. Near.
Is it near though? I don't know.
I don't know. That's how I've always said it. Yeah, near automata. Who knows? Doesn't matter. Doesn't really matter. I know what you're talking about there. Another fantastic game, an incredible soundtrack, an absolutely fucking incredible soundtrack. A game about existentialism.
Mm-hmm.
And everything's really bleak and sad. There's no happy endings in that game for anybody.
Yeah. There's no happy endings out of the how many? Like 37 that are in that game? Not a single one of them?
Every ending is sad. The end
is dismal. You never feel good about yourself after having finished it.
Every robot has horrible feelings about themselves and remember their past lives as humans and how they were abused. And it's like, fucking hell. Like, just plan to play a video game, mate. I don't want to know about how you were abused as a child. That's weird. But yeah.
But another, starting to see a theme here, Hawk, because another game that you played on stream, I remember you really enjoying as well. you finished it. I actually watched quite a big chunk of that playthrough. It was Astral Chain.
Oh yeah, great game that is.
Yeah,
absolutely
that looked really good
game.
when you were streaming it.
I think it's probably the most impressive game I've played on the Switch, like graphically.
Really,
graphically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it was quite a sight.
And it's smooth. Like it doesn't because it's like, you would expect a game where it's got all the pizzazz, so everything's kind of kicking off on the screen at the same time to stutter and slow down. Never. It's really good, really solid experience. I mean, the gameplay loop gets really monotonous after a while. I mean, once you've played maybe 3 or 4 hours of it, you've played the rest of the game. It's just following on and doing the story.
Yeah. It's just really the boss fights, all the big the big arena spectacles is what
the music is like. It's like pure anime. If you like anime, it's for you. It's like it's got an anime intro. It's like the music is very like Dance Revolution, like hyper fast synthesizers with guitars, and it's all kind of in your face arcade kind of sounds with kind of like mechs. The kind of like mechs that you used. Well, they're not even mechs. They're kind of like demons that you use to fight against other demons.
They're Pokemon.
Yeah. you basically stick a chain around them. That's why it's called Astral Chain. You stick a collar around them, and then you use them to fight. Yeah, slaves, basically. You play as a police officer that uses slaves in the future to fight other demons. Anyway, yeah, but Astral Chain's a fantastic game. I was really hoping for a sequel. I was really, really hoping for that Nintendo Direct we watched in February. I honestly thought when the Xenoblade 3 trailer started, I thought that was Astral Chain 2. I was like, oh, yes, can't wait for that. And then, yeah, I was still excited. I like Xenoblade, so.
I guess that just highlights how little I was paying attention during that. It was just like, I can't even remember the first thing about the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 announcement.
It's very open. Like it starts a black screen, it fades from black, and then it's a voice line in the grass, and I was like, that's Astral Chain. Like, it sounded like one of the voice actors from Astral Chain, but yeah, it wasn't. So, come on, Platinum, pull your finger out your ass. Give me an Astral Chain 2, please. Or if you're not going to give it me on the Switch, give me it on the PC. Yeah, but there's a lot of games that Platinum have done that are really good. Are there any other like studios that you think like Platinum that they do action very well, like that? I mean, Capcom, naturally, Devil May Cry.
Yeah, I mean, Devil May Cry is obviously the standout. I mean, action games, I would also just lump fighting games into that too.
Yeah, I would as well.
I'm excited for that fighting collection actually because it's got a lot of titles in there that I'm just like,
yeah, looks good,
I didn't even know the first thing about, like Red Earth.
Yeah.
Which is like this. It's a fighting RPG hybrid.
Yeah, it looked really good.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll probably grab that when it comes out.
Like when I look to fighting games now, I know Mule, you're a big fan of Mortal Kombat 11, right? That's probably what you've played. Like fighting game wise, that's probably what you played the most of in recent years.
Oh, but definitely, yeah.
I don't mind the whole 3D 2D fighting game, but I really prefer like the games that Arc do. So like Guilty Gear and Dragon Ball Fighter Z and anything that's like really like heavily overly anime, but is that it still retains that 2D, like completely flat 2D perspective.
Yeah,
I really like those. I really, really like those.
Dragon Ball Fighters was amazing, like really good, and I really hope they do a sequel to it.
I think they're the kings, aren't they? Arc System Works. They did a fucking absolutely amazing Hokuto no Ken game on the PlayStation 2, just called Hokuto no Ken, that got a Dreamcast port as well. And I've been looking to buy that for years, absolutely years, to get a copy of that, because it's an absolutely killer game. It's a fighting game, but it's just Fist of the North Star. But it's very brutal. It's all like fully animated, like animation style, following the original anime, and with some of the original voice actors returning. So it's really good. But yeah, they've done loads of games. BlazBlue as well, if you like.
Yeah, the
BlazBlue, BlazBlue, Guilty Gear, King of Fighters,
Guilty Gear.
The only issues that I have with those games is. And it's not the games themselves; it's purely me. But if you're playing those sorts of games online, you have to be so on the ball, and your reflexes have to be so fast because they're such fast-paced arcade fighting games that it's like I feel like I'm just getting too old to play them now. My reaction time is terrible.
Where there should be, like, depending on your age, they should increase the input lag for younger players to make it safe.
Oh, that's a banging idea. Yeah, totally.
To make it,
I'd be all over that.
Fairer for those of us getting older. Yeah, that was his idea. Yeah,
I love that idea. It's amazing.
Yeah. But yeah, they've done some fantastic games. Arc System Works is another one. Something we were talking about, like Capcom. Arc System Works is one for me. I mean, obviously we're talking Elden Ring earlier as well. So From Software, obviously not in the same genre, but we're talking studios that are like critically successful games that you enjoy throughout. Like the whole library of games they've made that you kind of enjoy. Square Enix would be another one, maybe, right? I mean, Square Enix is such a massive company with so many projects going on in so many different genres. It's like, they all stems from their whole JRPG formula, but like they really experiment with some of the games nowadays, don't they? They don't rely on the same formulas anymore, which is interesting.
I feel like Square have become very corporate now, so I'm not as much of a fan as I used to be of them. I mean, I still like them, but it's not up there for me. Like you mentioned From Software and stuff. They don't seem very humble anymore.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're a multi-million, probably $1 billion company at this point, right? With the amount of revenue they generate across.
Oh yeah, globe. Absolutely.
They are like if we're talking like RPGs, like JRPGs especially, right? The Final Fantasy franchise will always be their bread and butter, I think. But
well, Final Fantasy 7 will be anyway.
Final Fantasy 14, as that seems to be like insanely fucking popular.
Well,
I mean, how old's that game now?
That's true.
Still getting fresh content, It's insane.
When was A Realm Reborn was what, 2012?
Yeah. It's been a long time.
Yep.
It's definitely 14 is definitely up there as one of their most successful.
It's got to be because like most of these games that they make don't give you revenue every month.
Yeah. They get so much revenue from Final Fantasy 14.
With subscriptions, with the subscription model, which is overly priced. It's like, was it $10 a month? $15 a month?
15.
Yeah.
It's only about £8 a month. I'm sure it's about £8 or £9 a month. I don't think that's that unreasonable, personally, for an MMO.
Lost Ark is completely free, ladies and gentlemen. Play Lost Ark. No cost whatsoever, but you just, got to wait in the queue for an hour.
To be fair, unreleased for Final Fantasy 14, you've got to wait in the queue for that one as well.
It's true, that's just MMOs in general. I'm just poking fun.
What was the highest you saw the queue go when Endwalker dropped Mule?
Probably about 7,000, something like that.
Rookie numbers, mate. When I started trying to play New World, I was in a queue for nearly 400,000 at one point.
Jesus. Okay, yeah, it definitely wasn't.
What did they only literally have one server?
So they had 3 regions because it's AWS, it's Amazon. They had 3 regions, so it was like EU West, EU Central, and it might have been US Central or US Eastern. I can't remember which one.
Wow, that's all they had.
Yeah, that's all they had. Yeah.
3 servers.
Wow. No wonder nobody could get in.
Yeah, 3 regions, and then they had like 10, 15 servers in each region.
Oh, okay. I thought it sounded like there was one server in each of those regions.
The problem with it, it's just like they didn't expect the amount of player base that they got at the start, and because they weren't prepared for that, they didn't release any content. The game's died a death. But Lost Ark is like it was 3-4 years in the making. The Korean servers are ahead of our servers in terms of story and content and such like that. So we're getting delayed content compared to those. But it's completely free to play, so you can't complain about it. You're not paying for anything, so you can't complain about being in a queue. Whereas if you play Final Fantasy 14, you pay a subscription and you're paying for the expansion, and then you're not being able to play the game. That's a bit of kick in the balls for players. In my opinion.
By this, because I've played a couple of free-to-play MMOs as well. Not like Lost Ark, which is kind of more like a Diablo-esque, but from what I watched when you were streaming, it looked pretty cool.
I just finished this. It's Smilegate. The company's called Smilegate RPG.
Smilegate. Okay, I was trying to remember. There's this one MMO that I played so long ago, and left very little mark on me, but it was called Aeon, and it was free to play. Mm-hmm. And it was one of those kind of like they were just.
I think like when you say
Korean developed MMOs that started to flood the market all at the same time.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Like, I think there used to be a stigma with free to play. People used to think free to play meant budget, meant like you weren't quite getting a full product, like it was a bit unfinished, or you were kind of open to being fed like loot boxes. And in some cases, you are. Rocket League went completely free to play. Destiny 2 went completely free to play. Fortnite has always been free to play. Warzone, Call of Duty Warzone, it's always been free to play. And then Lost Ark was now free to play. It's kind of, I don't think free to play can really be seen that way anymore. I think free to play is like honestly, like if you were to install Lost Ark, you would have thought you paid $50 or $60 for it. It feels that premium. There's so much content in it that you don't have to pay for. It's all cosmetics if you do most of it.
My only issue really with free to play is, and it's kind of my own sort of trepidation with them, I suppose, is that I assume that I'm going to get microtransactions sort of like fed down my throat, or the like difficulty or the grind of the game is like overly inflated to make you kind of want to spend money to make the game easier or quicker or more enjoyable. That's the only thing. Like they essentially like ruin the economy of a game.
Let's say
try and encourage you to invest in it.
Most RPGs like that, like they wouldn't, if that was the case, they wouldn't funnel you to want to have to buy something or do less grinding until it was a point where you'd have to grind, right? So I would say you're at least a good few hours into a game before you get to that point. We're talking like probably approaching kind of tier 3 or end game, right? Like before you really have to grind in any MMO, really, because they always will force you through the story quickly. And it's always about like the dungeons, raids, quests, like hard things that you have to kind of go and do as part of a team, and you do it like on harder difficulties. And that's always the same with all MMOs. So you must have put like a fair amount of hours into it. So my argument is, if you do buy an item for like $10 or £10, whatever, and it might be an experience boost, or it might be something to make your playthrough a little bit easier, but you spent 50 hours in the game already. Is the 50 hours that you've played not worth the $10 that you've just spent to buy this thing to make life easier going forward? Are they not owed that $10 or £10?
Depends on the game. I agree that if the game's good and if it's reasonable and what you get out of the money that you spend is reasonable, then yeah, that's fair enough. And it sounds like Lost Ark is pretty good with all of that stuff. Yeah,
but I'll put it this way: I've not seen a single microtransaction in the game yet. Unless you go to the store, like purposely going to the store, there's nothing in the main game that forces anything like that. They don't even advertise it
or anything.
Nope.
No. Fair enough then. Obviously,
40 hours in, not seeing a single thing.
That certainly surprises me with Amazon as well. I expected Amazon to be really kind of forcing it down, yeah.
In fact, they've been giving me things for free, like crazy, like loads of rewards every day. I log in, I get a new like a bunch of new items and stuff. Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Out of curiosity, when we're talking about microtransactions, have either of you ever actually purchased anything in a game?
Loot boxes and Overwatch. I was addicted to.
Yeah, I've done loot boxes in Overwatch. I've bought shark cards for GTA Online in the past as well.
I remember when Battlefield 1 dropped, I was really Battlefront 2 actually, sorry. And the whole pay to win thing was a thing. So the only way for me to play competitively was to buy loot boxes. Because I was just getting shit on by everybody. As soon as I bought that game, when you want an online match, you get one shot. Because people had got the game into the countries beforehand, gone to the marketplace, paid a bunch of stuff like XP bonuses, better weapons, better armor, all that shit, and all of that stuff is inclusive in the multiplayer. So if someone has a fucking sniper rifle that can do so much damage, but your base character that you just bought, that you just managed to create to jump into multiplayer can be one-shotted by that. It's kind of a bit skewed, right? Which is why the game got shat on originally.
Overwatch. I was absolutely addicted to those. I don't even want to try to figure out how much money I spent on those boxes.
Yeah, because like at the time you think $2.99, $4.99, $8.99, and however many loot boxes you got for those tiers. Like, and what did you get? You got skins, emotes, like sprays, voice lines.
Yeah, it was all cosmetic stuff. Which I mean, props to them that nothing in those boxes was critical.
Yeah, pay to win.
Yeah, and. I would always get those things. What was it? You'd buy 10 and get one free.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes they give you one for free as well, right? Like you'd level up and they give you another one for free.
Yeah, or if there was like an annual event, the season would hit and they would give you they'd give you one or two free seasonal boxes.
Recently,
that's always how they got you.
Yeah, recently my son Maxwell, he's been really into. Well, I say really into it. He's only 4, but he's shown interest in Pokemon Go. And unless you play that game like you're walking around like as you would expect to play it, which he doesn't, you run out of Pokeballs pretty quickly to catch Pokemon. So I don't know, I'll be out in the middle of Tesco or a supermarket somewhere, and he'll be like, "I want to play Pokemon Go." You get your phone out, and you're like, "Well, sorry, mate, you got no Pokeballs." And then he'll be like, "But I want to play it, Dad." And then he's like, "I'm like, okay. How much do these Pokeballs cost?" And it's like
shitloads.
Yeah, it's like 100 Pokeballs cost me £3, and it's like,
oh.
But because he's 4, every Pokeball that he skews, I'm like, well, that's 10p gone. That's 15p gone.
That's money down the drain.
That's 20p gone. Like, and I'm like, and I stare him into the eyes. I'm like, concentrate, boy. This is my money you're burning.
Concentrate,
boy. Stop flicking your fingers the wrong way. I just got Becky really into Pokemon Go. We're getting off topic a little bit here, but yeah, Becky's just been downloading and playing Pokemon Go on the side, which is interesting. She was asking me about it. She was like, "I really like this Pokemon that I caught the other day." I'm like, "You're talking to the wrong person. It's a video game, but that's not one that I play." I have no fucking clue.
That is an example, though, of kind of what I was saying about worrying about like things being deliberately like inflated or scarce, you know, like for example with Pokemon Go, like right at the beginning of the game they're like, oh, here's like 200 free Pokeballs, and you're like, oh, banging. And then the further in the game you get, the more Pokemon that you get, Pokeballs become more and more scarce and stuff, you know. So that's the sort of thing that I worry about with free-to-play games, is if it's going to be that sort of thing. And, you know, after a few hours, is that time going to be wasted? Because to continue, I've got to spend ridiculous amounts of money on just really simple things in the game to make it continue to be playable.
Just to keep and continue the gameplay loop.
Yeah,
but I mean, like I say, it sounds like Lost Ark isn't like that, to be fair.
Nah, definitely not. Definitely not. I mean, it could be played like that. I mean, it's all the stuff that's with the microtransactions is there's a lot of like subsystems to the game, and there are materials that you can buy to have a chance at making things if you want to go down that route. You know, if you want your character to look a specific way or have a specific type of skill. There's like a combination of systems to improve your character beyond the level cap that they give you towards the end of the base game, and then you kind of go from there. Basically, like there's at least 3 subsystems to further increase what your character can do. Complete, like there's a whole card building deck, like I'm talking Tetramaster style. Like Gwent, but you have these cards on you, and you've got to create combinations of these cards to create like stat bonuses for your character, and then you get these things called engravings, which you have to read recipes, and then you read the recipe, and it gives you 1 skill point, and you have to get so many skill points or nodes to learn this 1 skill, and there's 2 skill. It goes beyond, and like it's fucking mental. Faceting, which is making things with fucking stones and all this kind of stuff that you attach to your armor. That's a whole game in itself, like making this stuff that you put on your armor, not your armor. Yeah.
So the card thing you mentioned, is that an actual mini game, or is it literally just...
It's a system in the game. Access it at any point, collect the cards randomly at any point.
Oh, so it's not an actual game that you play, it's just you sort of collect the cards game. And it gives you a buff.
So it's not Triple Triad Mule.
No, it's not Triple Triad, so it's not an actual game that you play against other players. It's basically a deck building game. And depending on the deck that you've built, it will give you certain stat like bonuses. So it might be that you do more fire damage, or take less earth damage, or do more damage to pirate enemies, or be more lucky, or get more XP, depending on the cards that you collect. Yeah, and if you've got if you can collect the whole set and you use the whole set, then you get like the best buff of whatever that set offers. And as you play the game, you collect them, and you get them from chests by doing side quests and main story quests and all that stuff. And it's purely random.
Right.
And they have different tiers of cards. You have common, uncommon, rare, legendary, epic. So yeah. So if you really want to like that, you can go and collect them and all that stuff. There's also monster collecting as well. Go to different continents, because there's a whole after you finish the base game, you've only maybe finished about 1/5 of the worlds. You go and sail to a bunch of other continents, new islands, new quests, nothing to do with the base game. And then you go off on a tangent there as well. You literally get on a boat and just go sail on a sea in any direction or an island that you've not been to before, and you see what's there.
I'm gonna have to give that a look.
Hell yeah! I just finished a mech dungeon, which was fucking absolutely sick. It's like I've got to this continent where you're in the future. It looks like Midgar, and well, not in the future. It just looks futuristic. It looks like Midgar, and yeah, there's a dungeon where you get to actually ride a Magitech armor and fucking shoot cannons and shit. It's absolutely awesome.
There's one of those in Final Fantasy 14 too.
Yeah, but it's better than that. It's better than that. The Magitech armor in Final Fantasy 14 looks wank, but this one looks lost. This one looks more like Mech Warrior, but with a person sat on the top.
You're going to be angering all the Final Fantasy 14 fans out there today.
I know.
I'm sorry, guys, but Final Fantasy 14 isn't as good as you think. The story is shit, but the gameplay is good.
Oh, I'm not arguing that the story's any good, but when you said the Magitech armor looks shit, you're dissing.
It does look shit, and it runs.
You're dissing Final Fantasy 6
as
well.
Listen. As a mount, Magitech was fucking shit in 14. It's slow as balls. If you want to get anywhere fast, you don't fucking ride in a Magitech armor. Only scrubs that have only played Heaven's Ward use that mount. Let's be honest. Let's be real.
I disagree because it was.
Yeah, it still looks cool.
Really good.
I think
because it was
really cool.
Amano's artwork just brought to life.
Yeah, for sure. So. It does look cool. It's just I'm just poking fun. But yeah,
I know.
He's not. He means it, guys. He means it.
Final Fantasy 14 is shit. Sorry. I just don't think it's worth the money. I'm sorry. £120 a year, $150 a year. Is it worth that? Is it fuck? I don't care. I don't care how many hours you put into it. No game's worth that. And if you pay it, it's just think how much money you pump into it. And if you're buying things outside of, to support that, like you're buying like mounts and such from the lodestone and all that stuff.
No, balls to that shit.
Absolutely insane.
No. That being said, I did buy Fenrir.
Yeah,
I did buy
the
Fenrir.
bike.
Yeah,
you bought a
mount.
Really okay.
I did buy a mount.
I'm not going to judge you because I definitely bought maybe 4 mounts in the Blizzard store for World of Warcraft.
Yeah. The thing is, how many hours did you put into Warcraft? If you had to guess.
I refuse to say anything about that.
Okay. More than 2,000 hours.
Well, let me bring up my calculator. I will tell you if it's more or less than 2,000 hours.
Yeah, tell us if it's more than 2,000. Because if it's anywhere near that, then you've got your money's worth. I think buying some mounts
significantly more than 2,000 hours.
Oh, there you go. So I wouldn't feel guilty about doing that.
4 times that.
It's just that, you forget how much money, the amount of money I probably wasted on having a Final Fantasy 14 subscription when I wasn't even playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
And how many people do that? It's probably accounts for a massive amount of their revenue. Yeah.
I haven't played it for about 3 months, and I'm still paying.
You're still paying for it.
I mentioned trying to explain that concept to your better half, to your wife or your husband or whatever, and being like, this, this 25 quid that I've just spent over the last couple of months. Yeah, well, I mean, I've just might as well just took a lighter to it and burned it.
Yeah, it's especially hurtful when you get back into that mood where you want to play those kind of games. You're like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to play this for 2, maybe 3 months, and you see it's like, you buy 3 months, you get 10% off. You buy the 3 months, and I did this on Final Fantasy where I played it for 2 weeks out of a 3-month period.
Yeah, I mean, I am shitting on 14 subscription model at the moment a little bit, but we should precursor that up to level 60 it's completely free to play, right? They changed it all. They've increased the cap from, I think it was 30 or something, to level 60. So you can play easily 50 hours of the game completely free with no limits whatsoever.
Oh yeah, there's an insane amount of content for free
now.
Yeah.
So it's not so you could do that and then just sack it off if you ever felt like you were getting too financially invested in it. By getting a subscription, but naturally, I think when you kind of when they already know this, but when you're so far into the game and you're invested, and then for it just to stop, that flow of content just to stop because there's now a price wall placed in front of you, they know you're going to crumple. They know you're going to buy it, even if it's for a couple of months, and then you forget about it, and then you continually pay it, and then you realize 6 months later that you've just blown $40 or $50 for no reason. Other than having a subscription you forgot to cancel, which we're all guilty of. We always have those subscriptions, which is why I cancelled both Mules and Retro's subscriptions this month because I ate them both. That's right.
Subscription to what?
Subscription to Twitch. No Twitch subs from me anymore. That's it. Gone.
Yeah, that's okay.
Fuck you then.
I always forget when my Twitch subs renew because then I get like a flood of emails from Twitch saying, like, I think I bought something. I'm like, did I buy bits or something? And I'm like, oh no, it's okay. Subscription renewal. I always forget. And I always leave the Prime as well. And there's definitely been some months where I've completely forgot to use the Prime sub. I don't know
I've done that before as well.
I've wasted probably 10 months of Prime.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But yeah, was there anything else you want to speak about, gentlemen? Was there any other points that you wanted to touch on? No? I think we've covered quite a broad spectrum there. Yeah. I suppose we'll call it there, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for listening in to podcast number 1, 2, 3, 4. Episode 4. Just want to say a massive thank you again to Mr. RetroResurrection for being on the podcast. You can find his link down below, and Mr. GamingMule as well for joining us again for another podcast. You can find his link down below in the description for wherever you're listening to this. You can listen to us on YouTube. You can find us on Spotify. We're on Twitter. We're on Twitch. You can find us in all those places. I'll catch you all later.
That's half an hour.
Bye.